In their last road game before the Four Nations break, the Hurricanes were looking to end the road trip on a high note, but in a wild finish, their comeback falls just a little bit short against Minnesota.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everydayer for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writer. I'm also an AHL writer over at the Calder Times. Also a co-host of the Search Cast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. Got a Friday episode edition for you guys as we get to talk about the Canes almost to come back against the Minnesota Wild in St. Paul on Thursday night. We can hear from Rod Brind'Amour in the post-game press conference, and we're actually going to talk about the Canes against the Utah Hockey Club on Saturday before they go into their Four Nations break. But before we go into all of this episode today, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONAHL for $20 off your first purchase. Now, the Hurricanes were looking to bounce back from their 3-0 shutout loss to the Winnipeg Jets, kind of looking for a revenge game against the Minnesota Wild, who beat them 4-0 back on January 4th in Raleigh. I mean, they did have their opportunities. They had 38 shots on goal, and they were only able to come away with one goal, while Minnesota had 2 goals on 24 shots. I mean, if you look at the natural stat trick, the Hurricanes actually had a 91 total shot attempts, but, only when you look at it, it's one of those things where it just didn't really go their way, and you only get 38 shots on the entire night out of the 91 total attempts. So it's just one of those things where it really just didn't go your way for the Carolina Hurricanes, and you kind of wish you had a little bit more out of it. And you'll hear from Rod Brind'Amour in segment 2. We listened to him talk. It's like he had the opportunities. It's just one of those things where it's just the finishing wasn't really there, because if you look at the high danger chances in this game, the Hurricanes did have 13 high danger chances for, but they also gave up 16 high danger chances of their own as well. Outside of that, the fact they had 91 chances for, and only gave Minnesota 42. If you look at it by period for the Hurricanes, they had more high danger chances in the first period, 5-4, but Minnesota did have more high danger chances in the second and the third, 7-4, and then 5-4, which at the end of the game, the Hurricanes had 16 high danger chances against, while only producing 13 of their own, even though they had 91 chances for, to the 42 against for the Minnesota Wild. But coulda, woulda, shoulda, man. You had a lot of chances for, but in reality, you only had 13 of them being high danger, while you gave up 16 of the 42 to the Minnesota Wild. Looking at the lines themselves, I mean, Seth Jarvis was with Sebastian Aho and Mikko Rantanen in 11 minutes and 21 seconds of ice time. Did have 17 chances for when they had 8 against, but when it comes to the shot totals, 7-4 in favor of that first line. And then they had Jackson Blake down with Taylor Hall and Jesperi Kotkaniemi in 11 minutes and 33 seconds, 16 chances for, 8 against, but their shots 7-3. So all in all, not bad for the first 2 lines, where they had more chances for than against, and they also had more shots for against as well. Now it comes to the third line, where we see a lot of the Jordans and Seth Jarvis playing really well here. They were pretty much even for 6 minutes and 58 seconds. They had 9 chances for, but they had 9 against. But the shot for They only had 5 shots for themselves, and they also give up 8 shots against. So kind of not what you're used to seeing with the third line like that. But, if you outshot Minnesota all night, 15-7, 10-10, and then 13-7. But in the end, just didn't really go your way in any aspect of. Yeah, you had the opportunities, but in the end, it's what it say on the scoreboard. And unfortunately, Minnesota did complete the regular season sweep against the Carolina Hurricanes. I mean, when you had the talk about the Hurricanes having their 91 shot chances, 4 shot attempts. How about the fact that Minnesota stopped 23 shots, and that was all blocked. So the Hurricanes had 38 shots on goal. 23 of them were blocked. So you're talking 61 out of the 91 were right there, and 23 of those block shots for Minnesota. So, hey, you get all those shot attempts you won, but you get 23 of them blocked. You only get 38 credit on the goal. What can you really do? But the one bright spot was the penalty kill. Penalty kill went 3 for 3. That's all you can really ask. And I said it in the preview. Special teams is going to have to come huge against the Minnesota Wild, and at least the PK did, but not for the power play. And now they are in their last 18 games, including tonight, 2 for 46, which is 4.5%, somewhere around there. Not great for 2020. That's going into, just 2025 as a whole is not fantastic for the Hurricanes in the last 18 games. And you'll hear it from Rod in segment 2 where they asked him about the power play, and he was very blunt about how he feels about the power play. And it's just, at least you have the PK. At least the PK is doing well. I mean, for Frederick Anderson, what more can you do? I mean, he had, saved 22 of the 24. It just didn't really go his way. The second goal, I mean, Vinny Hinostroza kind of tips it, kind of shovels it in. Freddie tries to flop on it, but unfortunately, I guess either flopped on it too hard or gave Minnesota the opportunity to poke at it one last time because the puck goes in before the whistle. It's 2-0. And on that first goal, it was a straight-up giveaway, bad play, bad defensive effort, and there's nothing Freddie could do with that one. So this is a game where you can't even put on Frederick Anderson. It's just 2 unfortunate goals that kind of just happen that don't really go your way. And got to give Minnesota credit. While they, have been shut out in the last couple of games, and they're coming into this one very hungry to go back to, where, they're still in the fight for the Central because they're third right now in the Central Division. And you just got to give credit to Minnesota. They definitely had the Hurricanes number this season. Outscored them 6-1 in both games combined, 6-1. It's a frustrating game, not in terms of the fact that it's not the lack of effort. They had the opportunities. It's just Philip Gustafson in both games against Carolina gave up 1 goal in 2 games, and Minnesota scored 6. And the fact that you got the line switching, you had Jarvis back on the top line with Aho and Ranton. They had their opportunities, and Rod said it, snake bitten. The whole team is snake bitten right now, and it's just unfortunate. But you're still looking at a Carolina Hurricanes team as of right now who all things considered of how the season's been for them so far. They're still 32-19-4, still have a game in hand on New Jersey, up 2 points. They are now 11 back of Washington, so it's probably going to be a fight for who's going to have a home ice against the 2 and 3 seeds in the Metropolitan. Hurricanes have now lost 3 straight games, and now their road record is 12-13-3. But they're still 6-3-1 in their last 10, so it is what it is. But at least in terms of what you're looking at in the division, they are 8 points clear of Columbus, who's third in the wild card hunt. So you're still putting yourself in a good, you're still in a good spot. Like I said, you're 13-9-4, and in the entire league, you were 5th, but now you're 7th. But that's still pretty good, though, when you talk about the entire league. You're still top 10, and you're 7th there. And in terms of the conference, you are 3rd with a game in hand on Florida. So despite the 3-game losing streak, you're still talking about a team who's 3rd in the East, 7th in the entire league. You'll take the silver linings. I know a lot of people aren't really fond of the silver linings right now with how the fact that the team has lost 3 games, but all in all, it still is a really good hockey team. It's just, things happen to where you kind of hit you hit a rough patch. Every team does. It's just, unfortunately, that's where they're kind of at right now for the Carolina Hurricanes. But so I kind of mentioned Rod, how he did talk about some things in his post-game press conference about the game overall, talking about how the PK's been, how the Hurricanes had their chances. The power play's been not so great. So we'll hear all of that in a second. So stick around as we'll jump into that Rod Brind'Amour press conference here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Looking for tickets to your next big event, whether it's a concert, a comedy show, or even a sports game, finding the right ticket at the right price can be a headache. But with Gametime Picks, it's never been easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Gametime Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It creates the best deals, so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. And the best part, you're covered with Gametime's lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal somewhere else, they'll refund 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONAHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONAHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. And like I said, at the end of segment 1, we are going to jump into the press conference with Rod Brind'Amour after the Hurricanes 2-1 loss to the Minnesota Wild. So we're going to jump into that right now.
Oh, Rod, 91 shot attempts, but again, tough to get to the back of the net.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's gone for us here lately. Can't fault the effort. I thought we had a good game. We had a good first period and come down 1-0. We gave up, kind of a weird one where we got skated, and then they made a nice play. You got to tip that. Second period, we were kind of even. Like, I thought it was not much going both ways, and then we made another kind of poor decision on the second goal, and that's, they made us pay. So tough night. We definitely had enough opportunities to get more than one goal. Maybe we don't win the game, but we certainly deserve to get something out of that. But that's kind of how it's gone for us this whole year, to be honest with you.
Is it a lack of second opportunities, third opportunities?
Yeah, well, they hunker in there. We know that.
Yep.
But we certainly had, they don't give up much off the rush. We had a couple breakaways. We ended up doing some things that I wasn't expecting even to get. But it was, you're right, there wasn't a lot of, once he made the first save, there wasn't much, around after that. They did a nice job.
Mm-hmm. How about special teams, too?
Our power play stinks. Yeah. I'll just leave it at that. Like, our penalty kill did a nice job. So that's not the difference of the game. It's, if they get a power play goal, then it really is. But, we at least saw that off. But we got to find a way to score some goals. And, I don't know what the answer is. We got certainly putting up good opportunities. We just got to finish.
Yeah. Jackson's kind of hard on himself about the penalty shot, but do you like him in that?
Well, he created a bunch of chances, and he was, he works really hard, and he's been snake bit too. The whole team has, but he's had a lot of good opportunities the last, several games. So it'll come for him.
Big thank you to Rod Brind'Amour of the Carolina Hurricanes, as always, for that, and you can hear from him. Not lack of effort. They had the opportunities. They had their chances. It's just unfortunate didn't go their way to where you had 91 shot attempts and 30 were on goal. 23 of them were blocked. And Rod said you played a game where you could have had more than one goal. It just didn't really go your way. And, special teams, mainly the PK was good. And like I said earlier, he was very blunt about the power play. It stinks. And rightfully say it stinks because now you're 2 for 46 in 2025. And Rod says, he even said it during the game, and he said, it's just something, they're still trying to figure it out because you have Shane Gostisbehere up there. Now he's on the power play 2. You got Brent Burns on PP 1. I mean, you got a group that's got Blake, Jarvis, Aho, Rantanen, Burns is your first power play in it. Kotkaniemi, Gostisbehere, Roslovic. I mean, you got those guys on the second unit. It's just whatever reason right now, it's just not really working, and they're trying to figure out. Before the Shane Gostisbehere injury, that power play was just absolutely buzzing. You're talking top 10 in the league, and now you're kind of finding your way into a middling mid-20s right now. And that's something that's really got to help, because if you're 5-on-5 and scoring, you got to hope your power play gets at least 1 for you. You're not saying you have to score every night, but you got to be a lot better than 2 for 46 in your last 18 games. And that's just kind of the difference right now. Like, you talk about how the Hurricanes are a 5-on-5 team, but 1 goal in the last 2 games ain't really going to do it for you. And I'm going to talk about just Minnesota, where you score 1 goal in those 2 games against them. I mean, talking this 2-game road trip, 1 goal in 6 periods ain't really going to get it done for you. And like I said, every team goes through the struggles like this. It's just, at least, if you want to struggle, do it now before you go into a Four Nations break, or, it's just. And the thing is, like the Hurricanes, like I said, they're 32-19-4, 7th in the entire league, 3rd in the East. They're second place in the Metropolitans. It's not like they're like a mediocre 500 team, or they're fighting for a wild card spot. It's just, they won 10 games in January for crying out loud. It's like, it's not the teams are a bunch of bums. It's just, it's a slight rough patch. Every team goes through it, and it's just, at least this team makes the playoffs. It's like, the whole, the dark age of the Carolina Hurricanes, where you missed the playoffs for a decade straight, and now you're on a run where you've done 6 in a row, and you're on pace right now to go 7 for 7, making the playoffs in the Rod Brind'Amour era. So it's just, a lot of teams go through tough times, and Rod has said it too. It's the fact that you have the new guys trying to get used to the system, but you also got the team getting used to these new guys, because you're talking about a talent like Mikko Rantanen, where he's making those passes and you're not kind of used to. And he single-handedly tonight for the Canes made 2 really strong cases of showing of having the team having 2+ minutes of ozone possession, earlier in the 3rd period, and with under 2 minutes left, around 2.5 minutes left into the game. They had 2 different occurrences of being in the wild zone for over 2 minutes. And that's just him single-handedly keeping the play going. And you can definitely tell he's frustrated, because he's stink bitten, because how many times he's hitting the crossbar and the post. And Rod said it, like the whole team is stink bitten. And he said he gave credit to Jackson Blake. He's been playing really well over the last few games. He's stink bitten. He's had a lot of opportunities, and I just feel bad for the kid, because he had the chance for the penalty shot, could have made it 1-1, and just the puck kind of just bounced off his stick at the wrong time, and you really can't blame him, because he had Gustafsson. If he gets that back on his forehand, he's got him dead to rights. It's just, unfortunately, the puck bounced off his stick at the wrong time when he was trying from backhand to forehand. What can you really do? But, you can definitely tell the chances there. Mikko really wanted. Jackson Blake is upset on the bench. He wanted it. Mikko's upset on the bench because, he wants it too. It's just he's hitting the post, crossbars. He's basically hitting everything but the back of the net, but you can't blame the guy, because he's at least trying. He's at least giving you the shot opportunities. It's just nothing's really going his way, and it feels like it's not really going for anyone's way for the Hurricanes as of now. But like I said, you're getting the effort out of these guys. It's just right now, it's just not going their way, and you kind of hope that at some point it just fully starts clicking. This team's going, which I think it will. I have no doubt this team's going to get rolling. It's just, find the right time, minus the flu. Hopefully everyone gets better soon. You get this Four Nations break, you get a couple weeks off. It's been a grind for them. You kind of figure it out. I know some of these guys are going to be playing 2 weeks worth of hockey, and then they have to come right back into it. But at least it's, not nothing NHL related. It's all Four Nations. They kind of just worry about, playing for their country rather than playing for their NHL team. So I mean, like I said, Rod put it in a way where it's like, yeah, you're seeing the opportunities. They had the chances. Jackson Blake is super close. He's been playing really well. And, Miko's really trying. Miko's due for one as well. And it's just, at least the PK showed up. Power play still needs a lot of work, but it wasn't for the lack of effort. It's just, unfortunately, the finish wasn't really there. And Gustafson, for the second time, give him credit, shut down the Carolina Hurricanes. And what more can you do? So, road trip is finally done. Now there's one more game left before they go into the Four Nations break, and it's on Saturday at 1 p.m. against the Utah Hockey Club, where they hope to get a revenge win against them after they lost 4-1 to Utah back in Utah in Salt Lake City earlier this season in November. So we'll see how that goes. And we will kind of preview the game here a little bit, so stick around as I'll talk about that Saturday game here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. Now, like I said, the Carolina Hurricanes do play on Saturday against the Utah Hockey Club, and it is a 1 p.m. start on FanDuel Sports. South, Utah 23-22-9 after they just won in overtime against the Columbus Blue Jackets on Thursday night. Of course, the Hurricanes 32-19-4. Last time these two teams met was in Salt Lake City, where Utah won 4-1. This is the last game of the two-game season set between the two sides. In terms of players to watch over the last 5 games, Dylan Guenther, 4 points, 3 goals. Clayton Keller with 3 assists for the Carolina Hurricanes. Andrei Svechnikov, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. In total, over the last 10 games, the Utah Hockey Club, 5-3-2 with back-to-back wins in overtime against Philadelphia and the Columbus Blue Jackets, but they did have a 5-game losing streak, and before that, they had a 3-game winning streak. In the last 10 games for the Hurricanes, 6-3-1 with a 4-game winning streak, lost to the Islanders, beat the Rangers in Chicago to finish up January. But so far in February, though, the Hurricanes have lost 3 straight games to the Kings, the Jets, and now the Minnesota Wild. They're kind of hoping to turn that around. For potential goalie matchups, obviously, since we just saw Frederik Andersen against Minnesota, don't be surprised if we're going to see Pierre Kochetkov against the Utah Hockey Club. He's 19-10-3 with a 2.48 goals against and a 9.03 percentage and a shutout for Utah. It'd be very interesting to see how they do. I know they had Connor Ingram against Columbus, so I would not be surprised if Karel Velžmelka is going to be a net for Utah. Veggie, as they call him, 12-14-4 with a 2.46 goals against, a 9.10 save percentage, and 1 shutout. Now, real quick, guys to watch out for in this game for Utah. Obviously, Clayton Keller, 57 points in 53 games, 19 minutes and 15 seconds of total ice time. He is a -3, but he does have 140 shots, which leads the entire Utah Hockey Club, so you can never really count out the captain himself. Obviously, Dylan Guenther, 38 points in 42 games, +7, 16.5 minutes. He's someone who's been shooting the lights out, 19 goals and 19 assists, so definitely got to keep an eye on them. And another guy is Logan Cooley. One more. Talk about a season for this guy. 43 points in 50 games, 15 goals, 28 assists, 17 minutes and 40 seconds of total ice time. So definitely got to keep an eye on him as well. But you can never overlook Mikhail Sergachev, 10 goals, 34 points in 49 games, playing over 25 minutes a game, almost at a 25 minutes and 50-second pace. Now, for your Carolina Hurricanes, right now, Andrei Svechnikov has been playing, like his hair is on fire. 38 points in 54 games, playing over 17.5 minutes, 151 shots. Good absolute grief. Andrei Svechnikov, way to be shooting the lights out at this point. Hopefully, get some points from him. And, we got to be looking at, Seth Jarvis. He got an assist, 41 points in 40 games. He's a +1, 19 minutes and 22 seconds. He's been just going absolutely crazy. And once again, Mika Ranton, you have to keep your eye on this guy because you're waiting for that breakout. You're waiting for that I'm going to take control game. And I think, I can almost say this every game. You think it's going to happen. And I think it's going to happen because you can never count out Mika Ranton. Top 10 guy in the NHL. In my opinion, still a top 5 guy. One of the best power flirts. He is elite. It's just he's still figuring out the system. The team is still sick. There's so many opportunities. I think he will finally get an opportunity to showcase who he is, and he's someone who's going to be playing very, very well for the Carolina Hurricanes. And on the defense, you got like a Jalen Chatfield. Almost 19 minutes of ice time. He's a plus 19 for the Carolina Hurricanes. So I would definitely say Jalen Chatfield is someone who's been very underrated for this Hurricanes defense when you look at a guy like Jacob Slavin, Brent Burns, Shane Gottsberg, Dmitry Orlov. I mean, look at the additions of even Sean Walker. Sean Walker's got 92 shots in over 16 minutes of ice time. So, but if you look at Jalen Chatfield, he's been playing lights out for the Hurricanes. Like I said, almost 19 minutes a game. He's a plus 19, which leads the entire team. You cannot be upset with that at all. For the Hurricanes, you kind of hope that, the road trip wasn't the greatest. You dropped 2. You were hoping for the revenge win against Minnesota after they shut you out 4-0 back in January. Didn't really work out that way, but you have another opportunity for another revenge game against the Utah Hockey Club after you lost to them 4-1 back in November, which kind of started the Jekyll and Hyde hockey that I've been kind of talking about since then. January, obviously, they turned around and got 10 wins. February has been the greatest. They've lost 3 straight, but I do think we're going to see a turnaround here very, very soon. I think this is hopefully the game where you kind of, turn it on its head, get the guys back rolling. You go into the 4 Nations break a lot better than you did the holiday break and Christmas time where you lose to the Nashville Predators 5-2. I think this is an opportunity to where you get that revenge win on Utah. You win the last home game before you're off for the next 2 weeks. Most of the guys will be outside of, Jarvis, Aho, Rantanen, and Slavin, who are all going to be heading over to the 4 Nations. But if you end on a win, you put yourself into a good spot where you're in better hopes. You got your 33rd win. You go into that break, on a high note, and then you just come back, and then you just got a massive stretch run because as of Friday, you'll be 30 days away from the trade deadline. So this is where you're really going to have to push for the next 30, when you come back from the break, you're talking 16 days, 15, 16 days. This is where you're really going to kick into high gear before you go into that, trade deadline. Hopefully, we saw Eric Tulsky on his laptop at the Minnesota game. He is working. He's trying to find a way to make this team better. Look at the analytics, look at the roster, obviously talking to Ryan Brindamore, Tom Dundon, and his whole staff. So, he's cooking. We all heard he said he's not done. And, it just goes to show you that man is relentless for the fact that you just got Mika Rantanen and Taylor Hall not that long ago, and now you're at a game on your laptop doing work and trying to find a way to make this Carolina Hurricanes team better. So just got to trust the process. It's going to come eventually. It's all going to work out. So either way, if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, you've got to be feeling pretty good about yourselves to hopefully maybe turn this thing around. You get the win on Saturday, go into the break on a high note, then you get ready for a stretch run until the trade deadline, and then after that, make a push for the playoffs and get yourself a better seeding. So a lot is going to be happening over the next couple of days, and then we got that long break, and then it's full speed ahead as we get closer to the 2025 NHL playoffs. So guys, that will be the Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making the first listen of it. Your second listen, go check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to keep up with me, I'm at OneTrueZach on X. The podcast is L_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky at the Zachary Martin. I do have link trees in both my bios to where you can check out all my articles at the Hockey Writers. Also, you can check out all my articles at the Calder Times for anything AHL related. If you want to check out my other podcast, which is the Surgecast, the Surgecast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For this show, Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, follow, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating and review. I might just read on the show and just search up Locked On Hurricanes. For YouTube, Locked On Hurricanes. Subscribe. Hit the bell notifications so you don't miss the show. Hit the thumbs up button. Let me know if you like the show as well. Share with all other Caniacs so they become everydayers just like you. Hope everyone enjoyed the Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Hope everyone enjoys their Friday. Hope everyone enjoys their weekend as we get ready to do a lot of different content next week since the Hurricanes will be off starting next Monday. But until next time, as always, let's go, Canes.